Hey, my name is Dayoung, member of the Teen Advisory Board at the Howard County Library System, and today I'll be teaching you guys interfaces with Java. So this is today's agenda. So we got interfaces, what are why interfaces, methods and attributes, implementing interfaces, default defender methods, and practice exercise. So let's get started. So let's talk about what interfaces are first. So interfaces are very similar to classes, except they're not. So they're basically in simple terms, they're a group of methods with empty bodies essentially. So as you can see here on the example, this interface we have called phone is an interface. You can see here we have two methods, public string text, which is a method, and a call method. But these don't actually have bodies. So that's essentially what an interface is. And you can use an interface keyword as I use here to define an interface, and you can use implements keyword over here to implement an interface into a class. As you can see here, we have class iPhone implements phone, which means that my class iPhone, the new class I'll be making, implements the interface phone, right? And then kind of think of interfaces as forming contracts, right? So if I'm going to implement an interface into a class, I'm kind of forming a contract or signing a contract with the interface, which means I have to use all the methods given in that interface in that class. I'll repeat again. You have to use all the methods defined in the interface into the class. So you can see here I overridden whatever this text method, and I overrode the call method, and I used both of them inside my iPhone class. So these are actually just gonna be instance methods, and you can see here these are actually the same methods as the ones that I have in my interface. So if I'm going to implement something, and if I'm going to implement an interface, I need to use all the methods within the interface in the class that I'll be implementing the interface in. So why are interfaces like so popular? Why are they used? Well, one thing for sure is you can actually implement multiple interfaces in one class. So with classes, if you're going to inherit from a subclass by using extends or anything, you can only extend from one parent class. You can't extend from multiple classes. It has to only extend from one. But with interfaces, you can actually implement a lot of interfaces. You can implement multiple interfaces into one class, which is the cool part. And another popular thing about interfaces, it achieves complete abstraction by hiding method implementation from users. So if you see previously, you could just see the methods and what the methods are called, but you couldn't actually see what they do, right? And obviously, you know, for smaller projects like school projects or some stuff that you do on the side, it might not be that helpful. But in bigger, larger projects where, you know, maybe security is a valid concern, this abstraction might actually help a lot. So let's talk about methods and attributes. So obviously, you guys learned about methods and attributes in your classes, or like classes as in like Java classes. But these are gonna be a little bit different. So interface methods. So methods within interfaces are by default public because they gotta be adapted by other classes and stuff. So interfaces used by interface methods are by default public, and interfaces cannot have constructors because they're not classes. I think that's just a given, but I thought it was important to put it in there. And also, interfaces can have attributes, as in like variables, but they are by default, and they have to be public, static, and final. So you don't have to like type out public, static, final. It's already like defaulted in for you. So when I do a string OS is equal to iOS, so I declare a string variable OS and set it equal to the string iOS. And when I do this, that's basically saying I'm going to make a public, static, and final variable. And final means I cannot change it. So at any variables that go into an interface, you cannot change later on. And they're all by default public and static. And I'm going to set that equal to iOS, right? So that's basically variables or attributes in interfaces. Usually they're not really that heavily used, but they're there just in case you need it. Interfaces are mostly used for methods. So implementing interfaces. So obviously a main feature of the interface that we've been talking about is the fact that a class can actually implement multiple interfaces, right? That's like one of the most appealing points when it comes to interfaces. You can actually implement interfaces using the implements keyword, as I said earlier, and then use commas to implement multiple interfaces. So as you can see here, we have our interface phone, and it has two methods, text and call. And text, you can pass in a string parameter, a message, and then we have another interface called Apple, and then we have OS is equal to iOS, and a method called airdrop, alright? And they're empty bodies because, again, interfaces have empty bodies. except if we want to declare a default method, which we'll talk about later. Anyway, we have a class iPhone that implements both phone interface and both the Apple interface. So we're actually implementing two interfaces. And here we need to redefine all the methods that are defined in the interfaces if we're going to implement the interfaces into the classes. So because we use the text method, we're going to actually redefine it inside the iPhone class. Because we declare the call method in the interface phone, we're going to actually redefine that call method here too. And because we define this airdrop method in the Apple interface, we need to also redefine that airdrop in the class that we're implementing it into. And if you don't do this, Java will give you an error. So if you happen to forget it, don't worry, Java will give you a big red X and you're going to have to figure out why. And then you'll remember me telling you, oh, you have to implement all the things, think of it as a contract. So hopefully that helps you. So yeah, and then here you can see that we can declare a new iPhone object. So phone is equal to new iPhone, which is this class that implements the iPhone interface, or not the iPhone interface, the phone interface and the Apple interface. And then we're going to do phone.call, and what that's going to do is we're going to call the call method on our phone object, which we'll do, we'll go over here and then go over here. It's going to say calling, so that's what it prints, right? And then it's going to do system.print phone.text, and then we're going to pass in parentheses hello. And then where's the text method? Well, it's over here, and we pass in a string parameter which happens to be hello, and since we redefined it in here, we're gonna say sent the following message, colon, and then hello, which is what appears in the print statement. And then we're gonna have current OS plus the phone.os. And remember, the all variables or all attributes of an interface are public, static, and final. And because they are public and stuff, you can actually just go ahead and do phone.os. Actually, no, even if they were not public, this would be possible. What this means though, and you can kind of see there's like a yellow line on that OS, and then there's like a Java warning. Basically, that warning meant that it was a static variable, so it's good practice not to call it with an instance of a class. Instead, I could just say, iPhone.os, right, instead of phone.os, because again, the whole thing about static stuff, like, or whether it be variables or methods, is that you can use them or call them without actually defining an instance of that object, or instead of instance of the class. So I could have just done iPhone.os and it would have worked, but I just did phone.os because why not? But yeah, if I could have done iPhone.os, and because these variables are by default public, static, and final, it would have worked. Now, if I try to change the OS of my Apple interface, it would not have worked because, again, it's final. You can't change a final variable's value. And then finally, we do phone.airdrop. So it goes here, checks, and then goes here, and it says system.out.println airdropping, which is what it does. And now we're going to go into default or defender methods. You can call it by either one. Defender just sounds cooler. What I was talking about earlier is that you can actually technically type in bodies of code within interfaces, right? So you might be thinking like that defeats the whole purpose of interfaces, but there are actually certain cases where this might actually be really helpful. So the default keyword can provide a default implementation of a method in an interface. So we have these interfaces here, and now we made a new method called claimOS. And you can see the default keyword here, and then you see a body. And you might be like, wait, I thought interfaces, you can have like bodies of methods inside interfaces. Well, you can with the default method. If you're going to define a body, if you're going to have a body of a method defined within an interface, you need the default keyword, or else it'll give you an error. So basically, that takes away the need to override the method every single time when you're implementing it into a new class. But it's still an option out there. So now, since I did claim OS, I can just pass in that function right there, like I did, without actually implementing it within iPhone class. You don't see claim OS here, do you? So yeah, this is text call airdrop, but there's no claim OS. But because I defined the default method, I don't have to redefine it within my class. And that's why when I do phone.claimOS, it still works. It prints iOS, right? Because I'm printing the OS. So that's how it works. Now, we're going to do some exercises. I figured that coding along and stuff with interfaces will kind of take a lot of time, so I just decided to make 3 exercises. So basically, spot what's wrong with the interface. I'll give you like 3 seconds. If you can pause the video and think if you need that, you're free to do so. So hopefully you try to figure this out for yourself. So if you look carefully, like what's wrong with the interface? Well, why is there a red squiggly line here? Well, that's because there's a body. There's a body within a method, and interfaces are not supposed to have bodies for methods. But there was one thing that we could do to actually allow for interfaces to have bodies within their methods, and that was literally the previous slide, which are defender or default methods. So another solution, instead of adding default keyword, would have been just remove the body. So if you got that solution too, good job. You that technically works. But yeah, either one works. You can add a default one to just declare a default method, or you could have just took out the body and just do void claim OS, and that still would have been good. So what is wrong with this? I'll give you guys another like 5 seconds to look at this. This one's a little trickier. So hopefully by now you guys pause the video and tried it for yourself. If you look carefully, one thing I talked about interfaces earlier is that it's a contract, right? If I'm going to implement an interface in my class, I got to use all the methods defined within the interfaces. And you can see here in our new iPhone class, we're only implementing text, which is this method here, and airdrop, which is this method here. And we're not using call or claim OS. But then here's the thing, claim OS is a default on it, right? So we don't actually have to implement the claim OS method because it's default, right? It already has a default method defined. But however, this call method isn't a default method, so we were supposed to actually implement the call method within the class, but we didn't do that, which is why it's giving us this error. So to fix this, we'll simply just add in or override that call method and give it a body, and put in whatever code you want there. So hopefully you got that. This one was a little trickier. And then finally, what is wrong with this one? This one should be a little easier. I'll give you guys like another 3 seconds. So hopefully you pause the video and you figure it out. So this is really easy. If we're going to implement multiple interfaces, we need a comma to separate the interfaces rather than a plus sign. So it would be class iPhone implements phone, comma, Apple, not phone plus Apple. That was literally it. So all you need to do to fix that is add a comma. I put a space after the comma just because I think it looks nicer, but it's not necessary. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Look up for future videos. We have a few more videos after this, so if you made it this far, congratulations. You learned a lot. Like and subscribe to the video, or like the video and subscribe to our channel. You can follow our Instagram at chspyoneers, and you can visit our website, or you can email us for questions. I say this every time, we will respond to questions. We take them very seriously, so if you have any questions, please send us and ask us, and we'll be glad to answer them for you. So yeah, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Goodbye.